What is the mindset of a protector? One thing alone can make the difference between failure and success: your mindset. This podcast was created for protectors in the fields of law enforcement, security, and executive protection. Tune in every week where we look in the mirror to make real changes and learn how to achieve greatness by tapping into the Sentinel mindset. This episode is brought to you by The Arena. The Arena focuses on helping law enforcement and security professionals achieve their ultimate work experience, curriculum, and fitness goals. Visit thearenatoronto.com.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to be a police officer? Have you ever been on a ride-along? What are the things that are going through a police officer's mind before they start their shifts? We're going to be taking you on an amazing journey over this next month on a 4-part series on literally focusing on a constable per series on what their life entails as a police officer. You don't want to miss this. It's going to be lots of fun. Why don't we jump in and drive off? Actually, we won't be doing that. The police will be doing that. I'll be sitting in the passenger. You don't want to miss this on the next episode of the Sentinel Mindset. What's up, everyone? Hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, we are in our 3-part series where we have Constable Marlor, Halton Police Service. I'm super excited about this one today. You're gonna find out why. But Constable Marlor, how are you today? I'm
good, thank you.
Amazing, amazing. I'm really looking forward to diving in here and just exploring everything about, why you got into the service and anything that comes to mind. But we're all ready to go in this wonderful ride along. Any idea where you want to head off today?
No, we'll just start checking out the different zones.
All right, let's do it up. Let's do it up. So tell me, how long have you been in the service for?
I was hired in December of 2020.
Okay.
So yes, I am just
probably 5 months after COVID kind of fully took its effect.
Yes. So yeah, I'll be turning first class in May of 24.
Wow. Now, does time just fly by like that? You're like, oh my God, I'm first class almost. Like, does that come through your mind at all?
It flies by super fast because I still remember kind of making the decision to switch careers.
Okay.
And to come into this profession, and yeah, the time flew by so quick that I can't believe I'm here.
Okay, no, listen, that's amazing. Now, I do know this, and I will bring it up. So for people listening, so that we're throwing context. A lot of people applying to the service usually are, I'm going to say, people in their mid-20s. They want to gain enough life experience. One of the biggest things that I hear all the time, I'm 46 years old myself. By the way, I still have deep desires of getting into the police, even though I know right now it's just a feeling.
But, you should do it.
Yeah, but, there's more impactful work that I do now that helps people get onto the service. But definitely still have that within. There's always been this stereotype, people thinking, if I hit this certain age, right, that's it, I'm done, I'm disqualified. And I find usually they're disqualifying themselves. But then there's the other side of it that they'll be like, well, no, services are not going to be interested in hiring someone that is, after a certain age threshold because they're just older and there's not a big pension. And you hear all these things.
Yep.
What's your thoughts on that?
I disagree.
Okay. Because you're a living life product of that.
I am 47.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So I was hired at the age of 43.
Okay.
On my 44th birthday, I ran the physical for Halton and passed.
On your 44th?
44th birthday.
Amazing.
And yeah, so at the age of 44, I was fully hired on with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you were, we're going to unbox this. When you were leading even up to that age, you said this is not something that you came from a different career.
I did. Completely different career.
What did you used to do?
So I was a lab technician.
Okay.
I worked in a hospital. I did that for 10 years. That's what I did prior.
Okay.
And I just knew there was something else more for me out there. I'd always been physically fit, so that kind of played into, I guess, choosing to become an officer as well.
Right.
I knew I could pass the fitness. I just felt that this was my calling. Like, I wanted to do this in my 20s. This was something I wanted to, but I had children young. So I went and looked into an information session
Yes.
and realized I just couldn't do it with raising small kids.
Right.
So when I actually hit my 40s, I'm like, it's now or never. It's something I always wanted to do, and I'm going to try it. Why not try? If I don't get in, I still had my career to fall back on.
Wow.
So I did. I got the whole package together. Trying to find my high school diploma was an issue.
Okay.
unboxed that from somewhere.
Yeah.
But I got all the paperwork required.
Right.
And I applied, and it rolled smoothly. I made it through the interviews. I will say, though, my partner is a police officer.
Okay.
He was able to mentor me and help me.
Has he been serving for a while?
He has.
Okay.
So he was able to mentor me and kind of help me prepare for the interview. So I would recommend anybody get a mentor. I found that huge. If you can find a mentor that can help you through the process,
yes,
that's huge.
Now, was he, I'm very interested in this, was he, when you knew you had this desire that wanted to get on, was he always like keen or supportive of the idea, or was it like, you know, you don't have to do this kind of job because of the dangers that come with it?
Yeah, for sure. He was kind of caught off guard a little bit.
Right, yeah.
Because I already had a career. I was kind of set in life, like most people say. Like,
right.
I was in my 40s and set in life.
Right.
And he was nervous because he knows what the job entails. He was nervous he didn't want to have to worry about me.
Of course.
Out there on the road. But he's super supportive. Like,
amazing.
Biggest support ever.
Amazing.
So.
And now, what makes the story even more interesting is, you know, you said you had kids at a young age.
Yes.
So, from what I'm hearing right now, you're also a grandmother.
I am a grandma of 3.
So amazing, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the one thing that I think is important is that in life, you're always going to get people that are going to be like naysayers, or people that are not always going to be your fans, or there could be obstacles, right?
Yep.
Did you have any like, again, people may obviously be supportive of you, but maybe they might be like, I don't know if you want to do this, you're too old. I don't know if you can, like, did you have any like negativeness that kind of like unintentionally try to squash your dreams?
Absolutely. I had many people that would say to me, like, you're too old to do this. Like, it's a lot of work to get in. Like, do you realize all the interviews you have to do, the fitness
yes.
testing that you have to go through? And I'll admit it, one of the tests you have to run is the beep test.
Right.
I hadn't run the beep test since high school.
Okay, right.
I am a runner, but I'm a long distance runner. Running the beep is totally different. I had to train for that, and of course it was COVID. Gyms were shut down. Everything was shut down. So I would go to empty parking lots. I mapped it out with a chalk line. I downloaded it on my phone, and I practiced that beep test 3 times a week. My daughters would run with me and encourage me, and I ran it until I could pass it.
This is amazing. I love hearing this. Look, you know, you stated you're 47, I'm 46. We're only a year apart from each other. But the one thing that I always like, which kind of like dates us, is like, you know, say like the generation that we've come from and the generation of now, they're 2 different generations. And I think a lot of the stuff that really, from what I'm hearing, created success for you is your work ethic. Mm-hmm. And your mindset was so strong where I'm going to overcome this. This is an obstacle. Here's how I'm going to attack it. You let nothing hit you back. And by the way, what's even more incredible about this story is that you did it during COVID, which if you think about it, it was something that our world has never experienced before. So there's more obstacles thrown at you, right? More doubts, more potential things that can make you say, I don't know if I want to do this.
There is. I have always been of that mindset. I'm very determined.
Okay.
And when I set my mind to something, I'm going to do it.
Okay.
And I kind of went through my whole life like that. Before I became a police officer, I went back to school in my 30s to be a lab technician. I was raising small children at home. I was actually a foster parent for 20 years as well. So I was raising many children in my home and doing night school just to get my education at the same time.
Wow. I mean, when they say they look for life experience, I think you checked off every single box on life experience.
Yeah, I've had a lot of life experience. Yeah.
No, that's truly amazing. So for yourself, like, did you ever have doubts that kind of crossed your mind? And if you did, how did you overcome those doubts? Because we all go through, you know, our mind sometimes can work against us and we got to reprogram it. Or any things that were going through your mind. And I think it's important, if anything did come out, people can listen to that, because there's ways to overcome your mindset.
I did have doubts. You know, there was times even after I got hired, like going away to school, leaving my kids at home. They were like, probably my youngest might have been 18.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit younger, but they were like teenagers and young adults when I left them at home to go to OPC.
Right.
Plus my daughter had a baby. She had a baby at 20.
Okay.
So I was leaving my family, going away to school, trying to study all over again with a younger group, that things just came a lot more naturally. I hadn't studied in years. I hadn't gone to school in years. This wasn't natural for me anymore. I felt like I had to work really hard at trying to learn all these new skills. And there was times like, what am I doing?
Right.
My job before, it was so easy to me. I didn't have to think.
Right.
You know, but I'm like, nope, I can do this. You push yourself through. There was times you're so scared and so nervous that you're going to screw up, or you don't know what you're doing, but you just push through it. I just got to the point where I'm like, oh, well, if I don't, I'll just ask.
Right.
I'm going to figure this out. You know, if I look like an idiot, I look like an idiot. Oh, well, like,
right.
You just have to try.
So how did it feel now? Like, okay, first of all, I want you to tell me the day you found out you got on. I want you to tell me what emotions went through you. What was your reaction? Where were you?
Well, the very first email I got was that Halton had accepted my package and that I was going through for the first interview, and I was at home and I was like thrilled. I was like, oh my gosh, because here I'm in my 40s.
Yeah.
And I thought, no one's even going to look at this application process. But they wanted me to come in for an interview. I'm like, I did it. I did it. My foot's in the door, because I thought if I could just represent myself, I think they would see me in a different light than not. Then I was 43, not as just maybe a 43-year-old mom.
Right.
And I just wanted to push past that barrier, being a 43-year-old mom.
Right.
And show them that, no, I have what it takes. I have life experience. I've led a life of fitness. I can do this.
Right.
And I got that, so I was thrilled. But yeah, when I got the phone call that I was hired, like, I went to my mom first. I went to my mom's house and told her, and she's like, I got it.
Yeah.
You know, and my mom was very scared too. Right. She was like, are you sure this is what you
want?
Yeah. You know?
Moms being moms, of course, yeah.
And yeah, it was just, and then I went over to my partner's house, because right before becoming a police officer too, I became a single mom and had all that on my plate as well.
Right,
so,
okay,
yeah.
So it was a lot. So when you are now coming into class, you're coming into the class at CO Big College or whatever, however the setup is, right? And you're looking around and you probably see a lot of younger people, right? Yeah. What's going through your mind? Are you being like, oh my gosh, like?
I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah, am I the one that the short thumb that sticks out kind of thing?
And it's not even that, it's the technology too. And they're like, hey, you need to do these assignments, and you know, like everybody's able to throw these assignments and you know, present stuff. And I'm like, I'm calling my 20-year-old daughter at home going, how do I do this? Like, I need to get on my computer and I need to do this and this. And I'm like, tell me what I need to do, because I don't know how to do it.
Right.
You know, and it's all easy for them, because this is what they did in school. Like,
world,
it's their world.
Yeah.
That wasn't my world. Pen and paper was my world.
That's right. I mean, right now they're saying the cursive, you know, writing is kind of disappearing completely. It's not taught anymore.
Yes.
Because it's all computer. So 100%. So yeah, so you felt a little off, but do you see people looking at you right now as, like, look, I've been around people where I can be like, even though not my actual father, be like, there's like a father figure, there's like, or a mom person that can give you that extra wisdom. Do you see people looking at you like that and be like you bring something that's very unique, and that's wisdom, maturity, and life experience. And a lot of these people that are coming on right now may not have that just because they're young, right? Yeah. Do you find they look at you as like a mom for experience and someone they can speak to? Do you feel that at all?
I felt like that definitely in school.
Okay.
I was like the mom.
Yes, okay.
You know, where they could kind of talk to me in that. I feel like once, now that we're in the service though, like we're all kind of on an equal playing field. Like we're co-workers, we're a family, we're all, it's that same equal playing field here.
Okay, amazing. Is it difficult and tough being, like, it's very unique to have two partners in a service, right? Do you find it's difficult with scheduling and all that if that situation does align? You
mean with my partner?
Yes.
So he doesn't work for the same service.
Okay.
So that makes things, I think, a little easier.
Okay.
We're not in the same service at all.
Okay.
Right now we work the same exact schedule.
Amazing.
Yeah, but we didn't always. We used to be opposites.
Okay, yeah.
When I first started.
Right.
But now we're on the same schedule, so that works really well. But that can change at any time. He's now a sergeant, so he can be moved into different divisions or.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that you've been into it 4 years, and you know, you've been able to like at least have a really, really good taste of what the world is like of policing,
is it everything that you imagined it to be? I mean, and that's coming from being already a supportive wife to someone that was in the service, right? Mm-hmm. Do you find right now that it's everything that you imagined it to be?
It is. It's definitely everything I thought it would be. There are aspects to the job that I'm like, oh wow, like the paperwork is crazy.
Okay, right.
Like I had no idea there'd be so much paperwork.
Okay.
So that's definitely, you know, just making sure you're always writing your reports and keeping your notes up. And, you know, you see everything in this job. So I feel like you need to be just kind of very aware that you're going to see everything.
Okay.
So, you know, there's people who can't handle blood. There's people who can't handle dead bodies. Right. There's people who just, you know, you're seeing people sometimes too at the worst points of their life.
Yes.
And if you don't have those skills to be able to talk to someone, to be able to handle that yourself, how are you going to be a police officer?
No, that's good. So what do you use for yourself? What would you consider, like, everyone has their own, like, I'm going to say, gifting of how they can, you know, utilize to have a really good outcome. What would you find about yourself that you find really helps you in the job of policing?
You got to kind of have your own time. You need to do things for yourself.
Okay.
Like I find I hit the trails.
Okay.
I mountain bike ride. I go for hikes.
So you're still very active.
Yeah, every day.
Okay.
I do something every day.
Okay.
Even if it's maybe just a walk, because I've had a really long shift.
Right.
I make sure and get out every single day.
Okay.
But you got to do something for you, and you got to have a good support around you. People who you can talk to that understand the world. Like I have my partner, you know, that I can kind of talk to, whether it be a therapist, whether it be somebody, right. People who just can listen and understand what you're going through, because not everybody is going to be supportive of what you're seeing and what you're doing.
Okay. Okay. No, that's good to know that, and definitely it's important to have those outlets.
Yes.
Because you're seeing things and dealing with situations that the average person does not.
Yes.
Does anything come to mind of something that impacted you in a positive or negative way, or something that you can just think of that in your career as a police officer just really stands out?
Like positive or negative?
Yeah, anything at all that you know that comes to light, because you've gone through a lot, right? But something just comes to light for yourself, like this is a very memorable moment.
I don't know if it's an actual moment. I just remember when I became a police officer, how accepting this service is, and just feeling like I belong so much. I came from a hospital environment before,
right,
and it wasn't always the most accepting and the most understanding.
Right.
So I just find how accepting everyone is here. Okay. We're definitely like a family. So that would definitely be one of the moments that I think of. I don't have, I have zero negative moments so far. Like this has been a really good experience for me. That's
amazing. And that to me truly is the definition of passion. Because to me, when you're doing something that you enjoy doing, and you love the aspect of the job and helping people, every day is an opportunity to make a difference. But when something just becomes a job, that's when it can get scary, right? Yeah. Because you have a lot of things that can enter. We talked very briefly offline about a potential story that you might want to share. Are you still open to that?
Yeah, we can talk about that. As when I told you I was a foster parent.
Right.
And I think one of the stories that led me to just wanting to help people is when I grew up with my parents and my grandma, and I had aunts and uncles. They fostered as well for many years. My grandma was actually one of the longest foster parents in Ontario. I actually became a foster parent at 22.
Wow.
And I did 20 years with them. So I was pretty young getting into it. And one of the reasons I wanted to help people is when I was younger, about 17, I was at a coffee shop, and basically I found a baby.
Wow.
So these people asked me to watch their baby for them while they ran out, and then I said yes, not thinking anything of it, and they never came back.
Wow.
So the coffee shop closed, and I had this baby. I can't remember how old she was. I want to say about 8 months, I'm guessing, give or take. I had a car seat in my car because I had a younger brother. Him and I are 17 years apart. So I already had a car seat in my car, and I'm like, well, I'll bring her home. I'm like, we're a foster home. Like, my mom will know what to do.
Right.
So I brought this baby home, and I remember knocking on my mom's door, and I'm like, Mom, I have a baby. And she's like, what? You know, it's late at night, she's sleeping. I'm like, I have a baby.
Right.
She's just like, what? So she got up, and of course we had everything because I had my baby brother in the house.
Right.
And she called CAS. Well, anyways, that baby ended up being adopted after all of that and got really great parents.
Wow.
And that was that was a huge life changer for me. It was like, I see children and my heart just goes out to them. And,
Right.
you know, I want to help children. Like,
Right.
I hate to see children hurt.
And what's so amazing about that and your heart to do so is that, like, children can be very easily influenced. Mm-hmm. And, you know, their experience growing up, whatever that experience is, will shape them to
Yes.
who they are as adults.
Yes.
So the fact that you're able to do that, like, do you ever look back at that and just be like, this is like God just putting you in the right place at the right time? To,
Absolutely.
Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I do think of that. Like, yeah, things are just meant to happen.
Yes.
And I think it's like this job for me. It was kind of meant to happen. It rolled nicely for me. You know, like, I hear other people, like, they have gone and applied to many services and that. And, you know, like, I do want to help those people. Like, okay, so how do you need to interview better? Or how do you need to maybe write your resume better? Or
Right.
what do you need to change, you know? Because it did move very nicely for me.
That's amazing. You know, we talk about in our organization about, you know, people identifying as protectors or having the protector DNA in your body. And, you know, sometimes you just could be a protector, not know. I mean, you're a mom, you're a grandmother. I mean, these are like the mother-father role are attributes of a protector. They're there to, you know, keep their kids safe. You seem to have continued that into what you're doing in policing right now. Did you always look at yourself and identify as a protector?
Yeah, I think I have. Yeah.
Okay.
I've always kind of been protected too of, like, my friends and family, and so yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And to me, I'm sure you know many people that are also, because when you're actually in the seat and you have the uniform on, you know, you start talking to people that want to get on as well. And people look at you, and I think people will hear this and be also very much inspired. For those of people that do have a heart to help others, you know, and want to get into the service, what would you say are the things that they should be doing to get them ready? I mean, you have defied all odds in the sense of, like, of mindset odds, of obstacles, and you got on in a late time frame. But just hearing your story, like, I'm not from Halton, but I would say I would be very proud to know that there's somebody like you serving in Halton.
Oh, thank you.
And that's a testament to the service hiring you, which is amazing. Yeah. So what advice would you give to those that maybe they love to help people, they love to give to the community, but maybe are not connecting all the dots, but, you know, they want to get into policing, but they're not sure. There's just a lot of things. What would you say to that individual?
Basically, a lot of people say they want to help the community and be in the community, but saying and doing
Right.
are two different things.
Right.
So then do it.
Right.
You know, I'm very much, you know, you have to better yourself. No one's going to do that for you. Mm-hmm. So help the community. Get into the food banks. Mm-hmm. Start volunteering there. Become a big brother or sister. Help there. Go into the nursing homes, you know, and visit with the elderly that have no one. Start helping the community, because if that's what you're saying you want to do, you have to show it. Right. You can't just say it on paper. So that would be one. And then another obstacle that you find a lot of people is the fitness holds them back. I've met some great people that would make great officers, and it's the fitness that will hold them back. And you have to get out there and do it. You have to want it. Yes. You have to do it. Right. You know, is it a struggle? Absolutely. Yes. A lot of people have a hard time at it. It's your mindset, though. Like, literally running the beep test is, like, I think 7 minutes. It's 7 minutes of your life. Right. What is 7 minutes? Right. If you want the job, just do it. Push through the pain.
That's right.
And be done.
See, I like how you minimized the obstacle, because if you look at, that's a mindset trick, by the way. It's like, you're not going to defeat me. You're just 7 stages and I pass you. And you have to put that work in. And to me, I think a big thing right now is the mindset of an individual, right? And how they look at something. So the way you've been able to look at that, again, has been very impressive, but it's also a testament to your success, which is you're in uniform right now, right? When you're on the job, And every day you just don't know what to expect, right? Something can happen just like that. When we were driving with our very first constable, we approached a situation. It was an accident that happened, right? And at the end of the day, like, there was someone already on scene, but you just never know what's going to happen. How do you mentally prepare for the unexpected?
You're always just kind of going through scenarios in your head. You're constantly listening to the radio, right?
Right.
So you get those calls of what's going on, and you're just kind of, you play scenarios in your head. What would I do?
Right.
Like, that just came in. Okay, what would I do in that situation?
Okay.
What am I going to do at that call? You know, but part of it's natural. Like you said, like, you might see a car accident. Well, that's just natural. I'm going to get out. I'm going to see if somebody needs help, and I'm going to get the help they need, and then I'm going to deal with the cars, because they're just cars at the end of the day.
Yes.
It's a natural instinct. You just move through the motions.
Do you ever have any fear? Like, if you were to pull a vehicle over, like, is there ever like a little bit of fear that's coming through your body to kind of create more awareness, like get your flags going up? Like, you just never know what could happen, right?
Absolutely. There's always a fear, and I think if anybody tells you there's not, they're not being honest.
Right.
And I think that's what keeps us on guard.
Okay.
We have to be on guard. Like, just even walking into a coffee shop to get a coffee, I'm immediately looking around. Is anybody looking at me? What's going on in here?
Right.
You have to be on guard. Not everybody loves police officers.
Right.
There's people that do not like us. I've been sitting in my car just doing paperwork, and people have walked by me and gave me the finger. Really? I didn't even have an interaction with them, but because I have this uniform on today, they don't like me. Right. But if I was tomorrow being a mom, they'd probably wave at me.
How does that make you feel? For someone, like, because here's the thing. You're a human being. You just have a uniform on right now. That's the only thing that's setting you apart. When someone gives you the finger, I think it's important. How does that make you feel?
You have to learn to brush it off.
Right.
Like you do. So I just kind of look at them like maybe they're having a bad day.
Right.
Like, you know, like what's going on in their life, what happened in their life that makes them look at me this way.
Right.
Because obviously they had some sort of maybe not so great interaction with police.
Right.
For them to treat us this way. But you just have to brush it off. Like, honestly, I don't take that to heart. I'm just like, okay, well, you don't like me.
Right.
Because I have a uniform on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you know what? It's funny because like, human nature is that you want to be liked, right? That's just regardless. You want to be liked, you want to be accepted. And to me, that would be just, I think, a difficult thing to go in there, especially since you're doing a job where you're literally putting your life on the line and anything could happen, right? So, well, I wanted to say before we go any further that thank you for what you're doing, and I think it's pretty incredible that, you know, you have such a good positive outlook. And one could, you know, say, well, you know, you still have, like, you know, years ahead of you, which we're gonna get into right now. And
I don't have years ahead of me,
and it will change you. And I don't buy into that talk, right? Because the only person that can change you is you, right? You know, because it's your mindset. But for yourself, being in the service now for almost 4 years, where do you want to see yourself go? You know, do you want to see yourself grow in other areas of the service, any special divisions? And do you see yourself going right to the age of 65 or whatever early retirement is these days?
I just take it day by day.
Okay.
I don't know when I'm going to retire. We'll see what my body does too, how long it can hold out wearing this gear.
Right.
It's a lot of weight.
That's right.
I do have some goals. There's many units out there, and that's the joy about this job too. There's many different avenues you can go down.
Okay.
Right? So I have shown some interest in some different units. Definitely want to try them out.
Okay.
I also have an interest too, like in investigative units. I'd like to do like scenes of crime.
Right.
Some of those different units are really interesting to me. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you always looking to better yourself, even now as you've successfully made it onto the service? Are you always, let me keep adding to some skill sets?
Absolutely. I was actually just thinking I should go back to school.
Okay. That's amazing. Let me give you the analogy here. When you see a lot of professional sports, like I'll give you an example in basketball. I can't really speak to hockey, even though I should be as a Canadian, okay? But when you look at basketball, they say the average lifespan, or not lifespan, the average career of anyone that makes it into the NBA is 3 years. Okay. So that means that the greats of basketball, the LeBron James who's surpassing records 20 plus years, or the Kobe's or whatever, that means they did something more than a person that had a 3-year journey. But the amazing thing is that that person that had a 3-year journey, he already defied odds amongst millions and millions of people. For yourself, you made an incredible achievement. You got onto the police service. However, you're not saying, that's it, I'm done now. I'm just gonna just do my job now. You're saying, maybe I should go back to school to better myself. Why?
I like learning.
Okay.
I enjoy learning. I guess I always just like a challenge. I feel like I have nothing on my plate right now, even though I do have a lot between, I have a daughter who's in university and my grandbabies and helping my daughter that's a mom, a new mom. I do, but sometimes I just enjoy that learning. So I just thought about taking like maybe some leadership courses or I don't know, just something that would better myself or that I could apply to the job, or maybe take some mental health courses that I could use.
Right. No, look, that's amazing. And to me, the key here is that you're keep growing. I used to think to myself, you know, after a millionaire becomes a millionaire, why don't they just stop? Because they're a millionaire now, but they just have to keep moving and moving because it's the next challenge and the next challenge. And that's what I really think it is. It's like you achieved one thing, great. Let me enjoy the win. Let me move on to the next challenge right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's awesome. So for yourself, you know, when you look at the job as a whole, how do you like wind down? Meaning, as in when the shift is over, do you try not to bring the police world into your family world? Like, do you try to like separate it?
I do from my daughters.
Okay.
I will talk to my partner
Yes.
and just kind of bounce things, but not for long.
Okay.
Like we'll have a quick conversation like, this was my day, you know, I kind of dealt this, whatever.
Yes.
But then it's done. Like we don't talk about it anymore, and we, you know, we'll go to the gym, or like I say, we'll go for a walk or a bike ride, or depending the time of day, right?
Okay. Have you had any experiences where they wait on you? Like, I mean, I had a friend of mine, he worked with the OPP, and he told me the very first time he had to knock on someone's door and break the news that their child had just got into a car crash and was killed. And he told me that the person collapsed and they were crying and also in their arms, and they said it, but they said, I hate you, because they got this news. That memory on him was very strong because he couldn't break that. It was just so much emotion to actually see that. And that's the part, by the way, that the public doesn't hear.
Yep.
They don't see the stuff that you guys go through. Can you relate to any situation that impacted you, if you want to share?
Yeah, like I have been at, there was a suicide scene that I was at, and I was with the wife, and the husband had committed suicide, and everything kind of unraveled while I was there, where she found the note, and then we realized what he had done, because he wasn't in the home. We had to find him somewhere else. So yeah, I was there the entire time for her, and you know, she had children as well, older children, probably late teens. So just seeing all that unravel, and just seeing her like devastation, and again, that crying and that. And what I always think about with suicides is, and I know people are not mentally well when they make that choice, but I always think there's so many other people you're impacting than just your own life.
Right.
You're impacting, yes, your wife and your family, but you're also impacting all those first responders. You know, you're impacting the police officer that showed up and saw you like that, and the firefighter or the paramedic, or, you know, the hospital staff. There's so many people that you have now left a little scar on their life, because they'll never forget that.
Right.
They'll never forget that.
Right.
And as a police officer, you have to remember, if this is the career you want, all those little marks are going to add up, and you have to learn how to cope with those. Because if you can't, you're going to have, I think, long-term issues. You've got to be able to get through that.
Right, right. No, listen, that's important. For your own self, to make sure that you're always strong on the job, both mindset and physically, do you have any sort of routine that, you know, you like to follow? Even like diet, like, I mean, it could be anything. I'll give you an example. Like, we've talked to some nutritionists that'll say things like, it's not maybe that great to drink coffee first thing in the morning, because how it can just mess with your hormones and your stress levels and all that kind of jazz.
But we all drink coffee.
That we all drink coffee, exactly. It's our bloodline. It's our bloodline. But for yourself, is there any routine that likes to get you like in that mind frame of like, I'm about to go in right now? Because again, you have to be all in. You can't be half in.
Yeah, like I work out every day, like I said, even if it's just a walk at the end of a long shift. So I can work a 14, 16-hour day. I will still walk at least 5K when I get home, just to get the blood moving again. I go to bed early every night. Like I make sure I'm in bed, you know, I read a book, just kind of unwind, turn my mind off, make sure I have a decent sleep. Those are just, I have the same routine every night when I'm working.
Okay.
I'm always in bed. Like when I say early, like I'm in bed by like 8:30. Like
Okay.
I'm in bed early.
Okay, okay.
Just unwinding. And I'll read a book for a bit.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me, what's it like policing in Halton? And why should someone choose Halton as their police service?
Halton's really good.
Okay.
Halton's a really good service to work for. I mean, I haven't worked for any other service.
Okay.
But I was strongly recommended to even apply to Halton, even by my partner who's not with Halton.
Okay.
But I definitely think it's one of the best services out there.
Okay.
Like I said, I felt accepted from day one. I didn't walk in and people were like, she's old.
Yes, right.
You know?
Right.
I was accepted.
Okay.
You know? We are definitely more, it's teamwork.
Did you grow up in Halton?
No.
Okay,
No.
so for yourself, you had to learn the areas as well, right?
Oh yeah, that was a challenge because I
Okay.
am directionally challenged. So I would say that was a definite challenge for me.
Okay.
So learning the area, learning to, yeah.
By the way, if you get a call like right now, for example, I know there's a lot of contraptions here.
Yes.
There is no GPS. You have to use almost your like intuition of just knowing the area, right?
Yeah, most of it, you know the area. So we work in the same zones. I don't know if anybody talked to you about zones.
Yes, they did.
Okay, so I work in what we call Palermo.
Yes.
So I'm in the same zone all the time. So I know that zone really, really well.
Right.
But I also know that I've been to the other areas, obviously, and done calls.
Yes.
We do have a map on
Okay.
here that, so I can look and see where I am at all times
Right.
on the map and figure out what's the fastest route. But there's ways. But yeah, you have to know the area.
Okay.
As long as you know the main arteries, I think you can kind of find your way.
So another thing that people may ask is that, do you have to live in Halton to apply to Halton?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you,
Most of us, I don't think, live in Halton.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So basically, you know, just having a really good, strong understanding of the region is obviously it's different than a city like Toronto, right?
Yeah.
And you got to be able to adjust into different environments. Do you feel that policing is looked in a positive way in Halton? What I mean by that is that, you know, I heard from talking to other people that sometimes depending on where you police, it comes with kind of different potential issues and stereotypes, meaning of how police are perceived. Do you find in Halton that, generally speaking, that there's a lot of acceptance more on the positive side than the negative?
I think so with Halton.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It is more on the positive side.
Amazing. Do you find that when you're just out and about, that you have to almost put in like I'm gonna say like mindset elements to make your day move in a certain direction so you can succeed? And what I mean by it's almost like positive thinking kind of thing.
You do. Like, you have to remember, being a police officer, you're in a fishbowl. Your job, it's like being in a fishbowl at all times, right?
Okay.
I'm driving this Smart Cruiser.
Yeah.
Everyone's always looking at me.
Right.
All the time. So you have to have that awareness about yourself. And I think you do have to have that positive outlook, because if you had a negative outlook, people are always looking at you.
Right.
You're not going to look like the most happy person.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I think you just kind of keep that positive mindset. Like, most of us, I think, do like our jobs. Like,
Okay.
we like the next calls. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like what's
Right.
what's happening?
By the way, how often does that happen? How often, like if you're driving randomly, like how often are calls coming in? I know it's changed always on a daily basis. Is the nighttime more popular for calls to come in opposed to the daytime, weekends? You know, like when do you notice the most activity happening, if you could?
It's different calls.
Okay.
So during the day, I find we have a lot more like report type calls.
Okay.
So my vehicle was stolen.
Okay.
So now we're going to go do a report and look for, you know.
By the way,
any
do you notice a lot of that happening?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Oh yeah, we get lots of those. Every day
Okay.
there's a few that pop up.
Okay.
And then at night I find it's more the hot calls, as we call them.
Yes.
There are people who are in trauma. We need to get in there now
Right.
because we need to intervene.
Okay.
something's going on, whether it's a mental health crisis, people have been drinking all day and a fight has broke out, or they're just those more hot calls.
Okay. Is there usually, like, does that include domestic calls as well?
Yep.
Okay, I
Yep.
see. I
Yeah.
see. Has there ever been a situation, well, let me, before I go into that question, is there something that frustrates you on the human behavior piece? You're seeing things every day. You could be seeing people distracted while they're driving on their phones. Is there things that frustrate you? And just like, man, why are you doing this? Like, that you just see happening, repetitive human behavior.
I think just because I've had other careers and I worked in the hospital before, you do see that repetitive behavior in human beings no matter where you are.
Right.
You're going to see the same type of people that require assistance over and over. Like
Okay.
in the hospital, we had the same people that are always coming in for the same problems. You
Right.
get that in policing too. You get this. You just, it's how do you help them?
Okay.
And that's where you need so many more resources to help these people so you're not seeing these same problems over and over again.
Right. Right.
That's much bigger than policing.
Okay. No, for sure. For sure. One thing that I also want to tap onto is because we do speak to an audience through our show that want to get into policing, right? And again, we talked about obviously age not being a barrier, right? So that's off your list. Anyone that's listening, don't have to worry about age, right?
Yes.
Obviously, life experience is important, right? And it's not just about the job, it's about many other things. What would you say would be certain things that people should start working on if they're looking to get into policing, that they can really put that work in and make sure by the time they're ready to put that application in, they've crossed off boxes?
I'd say wherever you're applying, so whatever service you're applying for, know your area, know your service. Your service wants to know that you have an interest in them. You can find all kinds of statistics, obviously on the internet, about that service. Know those going in. Know what, if you want to apply to Halton, know what some of the great turning points and great things that Halton has done. You know, read about those, be able to talk about those. You can't come in and say, I want to work for Halton. Well, why do you want to work for Halton? I don't know.
Right, right.
Because I live here. Well, that's not a reason.
Right.
Right? Like if you think Halton's a great service to work for, well, why? So I think...
And you will be asked that.
You will be asked
Yes,
that,
yes.
you know? Like I remember I would read over stuff about Halton and just learn all different, just things about them that I could, you know, say, yes, like I'm interested in your service and I have been reading about your service and this is why I'm applying.
Right.
I went in with all that knowledge already so that I wasn't going to stumble over it.
You know, I remember 25 years ago, I believe it was, maybe 26, I applied to Peel as my first service.
Yep.
And I remember back then, the advice that you just said right now was just as relevant because I was applying to Peel and I grew up in Toronto. It's like, do you know the area? Do you know the streets? In fact, I remember at one point they asked me, do you know who the chief of police is?
Absolutely, you should know that.
And I said, yes, I do. It's Noel Catney, followed by his predecessor, and I can't remember that name right now, but I wanted to really impress them that I had got that information. So I definitely feel that you're 100%, if you're gonna apply to a service, know everything about that service, because it's, like for us when we were hiring security, when I ask people, what do you know about Sentinel? You guys, and they don't know, there's something like, how can you apply to an entity if you know nothing about them?
Absolutely. It would
what
be
they
like
do.
applying to a hospital. Like if you don't know anything about the hospital, they're not going to hire you either. Like you need to
Exactly.
know the job you're applying for. Like, do you know the population of Halton?
That's
Do you
right.
know basically what maybe some of the most complaints are in Halton?
Right.
You know,
Right.
what is it majority that the people want from police in Halton?
What would that be, by the way? The amount of complaints? I'm not testing you, by the way. What would be
No,
the amount of complaints?
I think one of the big issues is traffic actually in Halton. A lot of
Is
people
it?
say it's
Okay.
the traffic. They want
Okay.
more traffic enforcement.
Okay.
Could be wrong, don't quote me, but I know that's up there.
Okay. No, listen, that's important. And
Yeah.
the reason why I think all this is great is I do know that they're going to be extending now 4 classes a year starting next year. Right?
Yes.
which means that even more better odds for those wanting to get onto the service.
And you don't have to pay for
And you don't have to pay.
schooling anymore.
No, that's amazing. So look, this is actually quite important. I think the costs were about 12 to 15,000, I think it was.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Which have been completely waived. So
Yes.
that and alone that there's a high demand right now for people getting into the service. You can get onto the cadet program if you're at a certain age to kind of get your way into policing. But there's a lot of positive things. And I just think it's the more you know about the service, the more you know about the job of policing, the more successful you will be. And I think it's also important to note that this is a job that is highly, highly competitive for those listening. For yourself, again, defying the odds, because you came into a place where, again, like I think 9,000 people apply every year to the service, but there's only a certain amount per class,
Yes.
right? We've had some of our Sentinels make it into the class. What would be some advice that you would give now? If you can go back 4 years ago right now to yourself 4 years earlier, if you could give advice now to yourself, what advice would you be? And that would be for the new recruits coming in as well, by the way.
So people that have already been hired?
That have been hired, are just about to walk in, day one of the job, they've done their training, they've done their coaching, they're on by themselves right now.
They're on by themselves.
What would you tell them?
Literally just take a deep breath and go call by call. And if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for it. Like,
Okay.
those experienced officers are willing to lend you a hand.
Okay.
Reach out. Just, your resources are there. They're there, and you can reach for those and ask for anyone to give you a hand, and I know they will. Like, people ask me all the time questions, and that's just how we all work that way.
Right.
This job, you're constantly learning. The learning curve is huge, and there's no way to possibly know everything.
Okay.
But the answers are there if you look for them.
All right. If you had a chance, if I was a genie right now, and I said, I'm going to snap my fingers and it's going to happen, that could make the career in policing better. It could be technology. It could be anything. It has anything that crossed your mind. Because you've done it enough right now. It could be like, man, I'll give you an example. Let me, a very simple one. So it's more and more becoming normal outside of government, of course, where they're eliminating paper, right? Everything's becoming digital, right? And lawyers, for example, are going to probably struggle with this the most because everything they have is paper related, right? But we're moving more into more technology. So for us, what we're trying to do as an organization is like, if we could have a chance just to dissolve all paper and just be digital only. Is there anything, tools on the job that you feel could make your job even more impactful? Has that ever crossed your mind?
That's a hard one, because we do have we are going paperless too. Like, we have the phones now. Like, we got rid of the notebooks.
So actual physical notebooks?
We don't have notebooks anymore. We did when I
Really?
first started.
Yes.
And then we quickly went to phones. We do all e-notes on our phones.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. I was actually going to come up with that idea to become a millionaire, but that's gone now.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So that's there. So to your mind, like, there's nothing really that comes to mind.
It's the paperwork that I find takes up so much of our time.
Okay.
Like, yeah, there's no way to get around paperwork.
How much time are we talking about here? Like 20 minutes, half an hour, an hour? How much
Every
time should you dedicate?
every call you go to, you write a report,
Yes.
and you also have to do your notes.
Okay.
So depending on what the call is and how involved it is.
Right.
And then if you have an arrest, that's a whole e-brief that you now have to put together. So that's
Right.
even more paperwork.
Okay.
But every call requires paperwork of some sort.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
it varies. Everything varies depending on the call.
Absolutely. We were speaking to Constable Morgan, and again, the number one thing is like the importance of that is something's off. It could be a lost case in court, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't even touch on there's testifying in court too. Like, officers have to be able to testify. So
Right.
if you have people that do not want to get on that stand, then this career's not for you either.
Okay, you know what? Let's actually make this a little small segment here about testifying, right? So we're going to testify Fridays right now. So you're in court right now. What is that experience like? I mean, if you can remember your first time doing it, what is that process like? Because it's something that comes with the job, and that is you have to go to court to testify, right?
So I have been to court on tickets that I've written.
Right.
However, I have not been made to testify on any of those. But just preparing, I have to read over my notes. I could be called to the stand at any time. So you have to be prepared.
Right.
It's nerve-wracking because you're like, are they going to call me? Are they not? Like, I didn't know.
Right.
So I have actually not testified as a police officer. I have testified as a foster parent.
Okay.
So I was on the stand that way.
Right.
But it's nerve-wracking being on the stand. But again,
Is it also nerve-wracking because you're in front of the judge as well? Like
you're in front of the whole courtroom.
right. So it's like, yeah, so 100%.
Yeah.
It's always interesting because, and there's probably a lot of people that are hoping that you're not going to show up so they can get off their ticket.
Absolutely, but we always show up.
Don't speed. Okay, no, that's good. That's
Yeah.
really good. So that is a part that is very important. And I've actually heard of situations where, you know, if you do go on the stand and you have to testify, if your notes are not in there, obviously the person can kind of get off of that ticket.
Yep.
But also it could frustrate other areas of the system as well, right? You know, this is what's expected of you, kind of thing.
Absolutely,
Interesting.
yeah. You want to make sure you have good notes.
Okay. For yourself right now, I'm going to ask you this as we're coming to an end here.
Yep.
You know, for those people, and I want you to specifically to focus this to women if you can, because I think it's, again, very impressive what you've been able to do and have the mindset and defy many, many outcomes where people would consider to be like, nope, you're not going to get on this and that. What advice would you give to that person that has faced rejection, that has done this test, whether prep and they failed it, or they've actually maybe something in the psych or the background, and they just have not been successful? What would you tell that person before they contemplate throwing in that towel?
Try again. You know, life is filled with many things we don't always pass on the first time. And if we all just gave up on the first time, where would this world be? Like, you just got to keep trying. You can't just give up. Like, you know how many times I failed the beep test and I couldn't make it to the proper level? Like, if I just quit, I wouldn't be here today.
Amazing.
You just got to keep pushing those barriers. If you say, you know, whether you have to go over it or under it or around it or through it, you got to keep trying.
Absolutely. And look, the thing that's important is that, and I think for most people, when they look at the final product, and you are the final product, they will assume that everything happened easily. They will assume that everything happened textbook. Mm-hmm. What they will not assume is that you put that work in.
Oh,
right?
I put a lot of work in.
And that is the key. I think the key to this success is that you have done your homework, you've done your research, you have the heart, you have the DNA of a protector. There's all these things that line up. And no matter what obstacle gets thrown at you, you just got to find a way to jump over that obstacle.
Yes.
To succeed.
Yes.
I really, really want to thank you for your time. And I sincerely mean it from the heart that I'm very, very thankful that there's people like yourself that are serving, that are making a difference and shaping the community of Halton. And I think they are I would be extremely proud to know that you are serving. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Amazing.
I appreciate
You've
that.
been fantastic.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Amazing. Any last words before we cut off?
I don't think so. I think I've said it all in the last hour.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for hearing this episode. We have your Constable Marlor, and just make sure you never get to meet her by being pulled over, because you don't want to put us in that spot. Fantastic day, everyone. Take care and talk soon.
Thank you for joining me in today's podcast. This podcast was created for protectors in the fields of law enforcement, executive protection, security, and anyone looking to level up their mindset. If you are learning from this podcast and you're enjoying it, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Sentinel Mindset. That's a zero-cost way to support us. In addition, please subscribe to the podcast both on Spotify and Apple. And on both Spotify and Apple, you can leave us up to a 5-star review. If you have questions for me or comments about the podcast or guests you would like me to consider on The Sentinel Mindset, please post all comments on YouTube. I do read all the comments. Please also check out our sponsors, thearenatoronto.com. The Arena was created to help all those in the fields of law enforcement, security, and all that achieve their fitness goals. I want to thank our producer, Matthew Doyle, and creative supports, Jaslene Singh, who help me with this podcast every week. We value your feedback and are here to support you. Tune into the Sentinel Mindset every week, where we look in the mirror to make real changes and explore what it takes to achieve greatness in your craft.
This podcast is brought to you by Executive Protection Lifestyle Canada. Make sure to drop by next week and don't forget to subscribe.